Hello everyone, welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Donny. Donny is from Australia, but he lives in London, in the UK. So let's see what Donny has to say. Enjoy the interview. So hello Donny, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Very well. Thanks so much for taking the time today for the interview this evening. Thank you.
No problem at all.
So tell me, how was your day today?
Monday's always really busy for me because I have a contract role, which I work like 9 to 5, and then I also do some volunteer work in the evening, and that usually takes me up until about this time. So it's
Oh, wow.
a long time for a long day on Mondays.
So tell me a little bit about your volunteer work that you do.
Sure. Well, it's a bit. I work with LGBT people that have substance abuse issues. I
Mhm.
had a friend that died of an overdose, and I've just felt, and this was about 10 years ago, and I just felt if he had someone to talk to, maybe this wouldn't have happened. So I originally volunteered with another group, and then I set up a different group called Controlling Chemsex, and
Okay.
basically that's exactly what it does. It's helping people control their substance use in the chemsex environment
Wow.
that's happening in London and throughout the world.
That's amazing. And how does work your your job? Do you have like a place where people come to see you, or is online? Walk me through a little bit about it.
So this one's specifically online.
Okay.
I used to do a drop-in center for London, but this other service has extended itself because we realized a lot of people couldn't make it to a drop-in center. So it was started up by a guy, and I helped him make it a little bit bigger by getting some lottery funding, which has happened, and it's now kind of like progressed. I've taken a step back, but I help with what is called key working. It's like a form of counseling, but what I do is just help people understand their use and how to control it. So I've been doing that like since my friend died, so 10
Oh,
years.
oh wow, it's amazing, Don. I think it's amazing for you to be able, to help people based on something tragic that happened to you a few years ago. I'm sure it's not easy for you, but somehow I'm sure your friends and people appreciate that for sure.
Thank you.
Amazing. And tell me, where are you from?
Well, I'm from Brisbane, Australia, but I've been in London for now. It's coming up to 30 years, so a very long
Well,
time. I'm more British now. I think that I am Australian.
tell me, what do you miss the most about Australia? When you think about your country, your city, what's something, that comes to your mind that's always going to be there?
Um, Look, Australia does really have the weather. It's just sensational weather every time I do go back. It's a different type of weather that you'd ever experience here. It's tropical. It's beaches, it's beach weather. It's kind of sunny. Where I'm from is perpetually sunny. Um, yeah, I miss that. I miss being able to just walk around in shorts and a t-shirt like 9 months of the year. Um, but at the same time, I think I've been here so long because as much as I love Australia, there's things comparatively that's better here than there is in Australia. I think if I was like a family man and had a family back in Australia, I'd probably stay in Australia because I think it's a great place for kids to grow up. But I think
Uh-huh.
to experience life, it's better to be near Europe and,
Wow.
and certainly London.
And I believe that all your family are back in Australia, or you have some family members here.
No, just my family is it's just my mother and she's in Brisbane.
I see. And you
Yeah.
get to visit sometimes, or
Yeah,
not.
every now and then. I don't want to sound so negative, but it's so far away and it's really expensive. So I really want to see more of the world before if I go back. So the last the last time I was there was 10 years ago.
Amazing.
Mm.
Okay, Don. So during the interview, I'm going to explore a little bit more about your life and also about your point of views. Okay.
Sure.
But before we start our journey within the magic box, I'd like you to tell me something interesting about yourself, or maybe something that not many people know about you.
Um, I mean, well, I think there's a lot of facets that are interesting. I don't want to pinpoint one. I don't necessarily know if there's anything that people don't know. I am very straightforward and I'm everything's just, I would say a book, but you have to kind of open up the book and read through the pages. I'm very transparent and straight up. I try to be comical. I try to be accommodating. I want everyone to be kind of happy around me. I'm very generous and very giving, and giving in the sense of my time, my efforts, and trying to like bring everyone together. So that's what I do. I think for me, my friends are really everything, and the friends that I do have, I cherish and I have a lot of time for. And if they want to do things, I want to participate and do that with them. So to your point, I think that's one of the enduring factors that I have, is just to ensure that I have friends and I'm happy with them and they're happy with me.
Amazing. Donny, are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and share your point of views?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So I have here my best friend. Full of random questions, okay? I'm just gonna play a song this first to relax before the first question, okay? Let's do it. Right, so before we start the game, during the journey, if it comes up a question that you don't want to talk about, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay.
Right, first question for you is, what has been the lowest point of your life?
I think certainly when that friend of mine died, it was the first time I've really experienced someone close to me dying. I mean, I've had other family members die, like grandparents. Of course, that's always a low point. But at the same time, I just feel like this one was closer because I'd been living with the person. I knew the person quite, as friendly wise. I knew a lot of things about him. At the same time, it was just a bit of a shock. So that's certainly a low point. Knowing that someone that was quite close to you has gone quite tragically.
Wow. So are you okay to talk about him?
Yeah,
are you okay?
That's fine.
So tell me, how did your path cross? How, he came into your life?
Sure. He was just an individual that I'd met out and about, and then we just became friends. It was intimate to begin with, and then we just kind of realized it would be more than just, it'd be just better as friends. He'd spent some time living with me, and then he did his own thing, and then I just we kind of met up every now and then to do things that friends do, I guess. But he was really going down a dark path, so it was unfortunate I didn't really get to do as much as I used to had done with him, certainly towards the lead up to his death.
Wow. And he was from Australia as well, or not?
No, he was from Brazil, actually.
Oh my God, from Brazil. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay.
From Brasilia.
Right. And the opposite of the question, the other side of the question, what has been the happiest point of your life so far?
I think, and I can cast my mind back 30 years ago, I think that was probably one of the really transcendental kind of like points to my life, was coming over to London, because I came over not knowing anybody, a suitcase and 300 pounds. And back then that was a lot of money, but it was enough to just get me started. I felt I had a lot more oomph, and I didn't really have a lot of things inhibiting me at all. I just went for it. So I just walked up to people and said, how do I do this? Where do I go for that? But I think the 90s for London was very different. It could be the same for a younger person now today, but at the same time, I think there was a lot more opportunity then, and it was just a lot more going for it. Sorry, there's still a lot going for it, but for me at the time, there was a lot of opportunity, and I was really embracing it. And I had nothing to lose, because I literally knew no one. I had nothing to kind of fail. The only kind of failure for me was going back to Australia, I think, and I even cashed in my return ticket because I was running out of money. And then I just realized I really wanted to live here. So I think that was definitely one of my my high points, definitely.
Oh, amazing. Next question. Let's do it. All right, Donny from London. Right. If you could go anywhere in the world right now, where would you go and why? Right this moment.
I'd like to go somewhere where I haven't been before, because I like new experiences. So I haven't been to the Philippines. I haven't been to Malaysia or Thailand. or India
Uh-huh.
for that sake. So I like the exotic, so I'd like to go there. So if you were to say one place, I think definitely Sri Lanka. I've always wanted to go to Sri Lanka. It was actually the birthplace of my mother, so I really do want to go there and see it.
Oh, so your mom was born there.
Hmm. At the time
Amazing.
it was Ceylon, but now it's Sri Lanka. But yeah, she's Ceylonese and my grandmother's Indian. I know you can't tell, but my grandfather's German, so it was just all kind of like a mix. But I always had an interest to go to Sri Lanka and just see the origins.
Tell me, what's the biggest joy of being Donny? What do you like the most about being you?
I think I think that it's the friendships I have. I think I told you I only have it's just my mum from a family perspective. So I've never had a large family. I've never had this kind of like big in-depth like layers of family members to kind of like hang out with or be with. So for me it was friends. So I built up a big friendship base. I built that up in London and still back in Brisbane. I have a lot of friends there too, and in the States because I lived in the States for a while. Um,
Uh-huh.
and so for me, it's about that friendship and that network of people, keeping in touch with them, being around them, being there for them as and when I can. So that's what keeps me happy, knowing that they're just there and I can just call them when I need to.
Amazing. Next question, ready?
Hmm.
Let's do it. Next one. Right, before the next question, let's talk about chemsex. Yeah, at the beginning of the interview, you mentioned about the beautiful job that you do, helping people, I think educating people as well,
Hmm.
somehow. Tell me, um, in your opinion, right now in London, big cities, yeah, where the gay community, or not just the gay community, a lot of people somehow they get involved in chemsex, is something that they get involved with. Why is that? What do you think nowadays people is curiosity, is all about the something about connect with sex, of course, but in your opinion, what is about in your experience?
I mean, I think in my experience, I think gay men in general have a lot to deal with, certainly prior to coming out and dealing with their sexuality. And especially, or I mean, it's any age. I think it might be a little bit easier now because it seems like society is a little bit more accepting. But certainly 30 years ago when I came out, it was very different. And certainly in Australia, it was even more different back then. So you're dealing with this sense of shame. And in order to escape that shame, that's kind of bestowed onto you, I think sometimes it's literal and sometimes it's just figurative. Some people think it's there and it's not. But in order to deal with that shame, they have to escape.
I
And
see.
of the hundreds of people that I've keyworked, I've more often than not, it's curiosity or it's someone else kind of introducing people. No one just comes up and goes, I want to do this now. I want to do this drug now. It's very much someone's offered it to them or it's around them at the time and they get involved. And I think from the first hit, then bang, they see the sense of escapism. They see all the problems go away. The inhibitions have gone, and suddenly you become this person that you're meant to be, which is guilt-free, shame-free, yourself, and you're hypersexualized and you're hyper you, and it's great. And you chase that, and you
Hmm.
continually chase that. But unfortunately, drugs have a darker side, and the newer drugs that are coming out now have even more darker sides, more side effects, more problems, and harder come downs and harder effects on the body. Um, but at the same time, they give such illustrious and amazing highs that people just kind of forget what the cost is. So
Wow.
to your point, I think a lot of it comes in systemic to the idea of shame and kind of suppress that shame and get away from it because we are ourselves. We don't want to be, well, I don't want to be the gay man that the person that thinks he's just a gay man and that's all I identify with. I want to just enjoy myself and be a person that's kind of like accepted in society. And I can understand why drugs become an avenue to where you can forget all of that and just be the person you want to be.
And through, since you start helping people, what's the most frequent question that you get asked?
I mean, how do I stop is the first thing.
Wow,
More often than not, people just say, I don't know how to stop. I want to stop. How do I stop?
wow,
Unfortunately, it's not a straightforward answer. It's like anything that's to do with chemicals in your body, it's going to be different for different people, and
right.
circumstances change. And also it depends on how much they're grouped by it. I mean, if they just so fantasized about the idea of that lifestyle, especially with chemsex parties where you're going around to these places and again, the other guys are uninhibited, and for you they're all hot, and you just think, oh, I would never be accepted like this if I was sober, and I'm now accepted. It's just this fantasy. So they get drawn into it, and they get kind of clamped into that whole idealistic lifestyle. But negate all of the side effects and the problems with it. So the point is, I get these people just say, I want to stop. I just want to stop.
I see. All right. Next question is, if you could go back in time in one moment or memory in your life, what that would be and why, for any reason?
Funnily enough, it was just when I was leaving. I was working for an investment bank for a very long time, and right at the end, when I was just about to leave the company, the bitcoins had just come into happening, and I remember talking to this guy because I'm very tech savvy, and I was just thinking, oh, I think it's a bit of a fad, and he was buying a couple, and he said you should really do it, and I'd just been kind of paid out for leaving. And I thought, oh, I should do it. And I was going to buy like about 100. And I just thought, oh, no, this is not going to work. I just don't think this is a good idea. This is 2012 or something, or 2011. And I just thought it wasn't going to work out. And then I was starting to hear some horror stories. And I just thought, oh, I'm kind of glad I didn't do it. So if I was to go back in time, I would buy those 100 Bitcoin. that was going to be a throwaway investment.
Do you believe that money can bring happiness?
Well, yes and no. I mean, look, it can get you some more opportunities, but it also, I remember, so funnily enough, working in investment banking, I wasn't front end client facing. I was in marketing, but I had, I was getting paid. I was getting paid for the job. It's an industry that has a lot of money, but I found that I had more problems and more issues in that scenario, in that kind of sequence of events. And so, to your point, does money get happiness? Not necessarily. I think it brings with it a lot of concerns and planning that you need to do in addition. There was times, certainly when I'd just come to London, I had nothing, right? And I seem to have had a good time. I was going out, but sure, I was younger and thinner and again, more blasé about everything. But I just felt like money brought a lot of kind of conditions with it. And those conditions you had to kind of be on top of. And if you weren't on top of them, they could compound and become more problematic.
Amazing. Next question. Let's do it. Okay. Next question is, what would be the title of your memoir?
I had a really silly saying because I heard it somewhere. It said, "I had my cake and I ate it too," because it's an expression you had. They had their cake and they ate it too. It's just you can have too much and you can overindulge. But at the same time, I always want to think of it as an expression where you can get hold of it and you can consume it, but it's what you do with it afterwards and how you share it and how you enjoy it. I think is more of a statement. So yeah, he had his cake and I ate it too.
I love that. And people reading your memoir, what's something about it in there that would you like people to read it and go like, wow, that's something that I would take with me, or something that I didn't know, or something that I would keep in my mind? There's something in your memoir that you'd like people to take with them?
I mean, I would hope. I don't put myself up and big myself up as much as I should, because I've always been taught that you shouldn't do that, you shouldn't love yourself too much, and that was it's oppression talk, and I get it, and that's very much from being with my mother for so long. But at the same time, I feel like I shouldn't listen to that and should listen to a lot of the people that have told me, you're good at what you do and you give a lot of value, because sometimes I don't see the value I'm giving, and so therefore I just don't think about it and I don't kind of reward myself enough. And hopefully by kind of just describing the things I've achieved and I've done beyond the volunteering, but beyond the working in different industries and beyond living in Australia, America, and the UK, I just want people to see that I made a difference to the people that were with me at the time, and just be kind of not kind of praised for it, but just kind of celebrated.
And what's the meaning of life for you?
I think very much experiences, to experience things. I was very materialistic back in the day with regards to investment banking and having the money again. I was just spending on things that were unnecessary. And then I think as I got older, I started to realize it's more about experiences. And I have friends that I see in different levels of that kind of understanding. I've got people that do have money and do spend. I have friends that do have money and don't spend. I have some friends that don't have any money at all and yet seem to be always enjoying themselves based on experience. And you have to take away from that what you will and what you want from it. But one of my biggest lessons is just it's about experiences in life. If you do have money, spend it on experiences, spend it less on materialistic things, because when you're gone, that stuff just goes in the bin. But your experiences stay with you even after you're gone, if that makes sense.
I love that. Absolutely. I think life is a journey that you need to invest in this journey. You know what I mean? You need to put some energy there. Got goosebumps now. You put some energy there. You need to put some time. You need to put some, a lot of things that we're gonna enjoy the ride. You're gonna enjoy the journey. Of course, conscious, of course, not gonna go like, okay, let me just do it. No, it does like that. But just balance and see that you need to make sure that this journey is enjoyable. And when you look back, you're like, oh, that's been amazing to be in this life journey. I totally understand your point.
Absolutely.
Amazing. 3 questions left. Let's do
it. Do I need to do that too? No.
Absolutely, can answer with me. Donny, tell me something. Growing up as a gay boy, back in Australia, you spent some time in London as well, America. How was for you your journey so far?
I mean, being gay in Australia in the 80s and growing up in the 80s, it was very much, it was oppressed, right? I just wasn't gay. You don't come out. It's at that time in that environment, especially in Brisbane, it's toxic masculinity. I went to an all-boys school, so if you weren't playing rugby or on some kind of sport team, then you just weren't anything. You weren't an entity. So it was very hard. Being gay, I was gay, obviously, but at the same time, I wasn't out. I didn't do anything. I'd come out just before I'd moved to London, but I realized that I had to leave Australia because it wasn't a lot of opportunity from the gay perspective. I could have moved to Sydney, but I really didn't know anyone, and I really didn't want to be in Australia with the families. It was really more like to get away from it. And there was an opportunity to come to London. Coming to London at the time I did, early 20s, it was just an experience. And London in the 90s it was just so more, I feel like there was more opportunity being gay then. Because there was more venues, there was more safe spaces, there was a lot more to do. Because there was less online, in fact, there was no online back then, it was just all about going out and being part of these crowds and part of these groups. And it was really good to be with it physically, statically with someone one-on-one, in these venues and in these kind of clubs and bars and other associations. So I think it was really great. It was great at the time. It was really great, kind of maturing in my sexuality at that time in London. Still early on, then I went to New York, and it was just a very big comparison because London and New York were always fierce competitors as the better city, and certainly in the 90s. But New York had a completely different way of being gay, and there was a lot more musicals, and there was a lot more people being involved and that sort of thing, and there was a lot more networking and a lot more kind of business oriented gay stuff. So I got to see it. I got to see the slice of that. But it was very different coming to London. London was more artistic and grungy and music orientated, and so there was differences. I liked all aspects of it. Every now and then I go back to Australia, I'll see certain aspects of it, but I still think it's very secular and out of the way and too far away. Sometimes I know they have some of the big events, but since maturing and growing up and then obviously getting money to have the opportunity to have these experiences, I've gone to see other places. I've gone to, China and other Asian countries and America, lots of America, all over Europe. And I've seen lots of ways that they kind of celebrate being gay, and it's different every time. So it's great. So to answer to your question, it's been very different experiences, but it's also very different from the city's perspective as well as the time of my life as well.
Okay. Next question is, what a negative thing that happened to you that came out as a positive thing in the end?
A negative thing that became a positive thing in the end. I think leaving my work, so that working in the investment bank, it was 14 years. It was a very significant amount of time, but I was starting to get really into my head of, again, what am I doing? I don't feel like I'm progressing. I hadn't progressed. I'd plateaued. So leaving it was very negative. But literally within a space of a year, I took a year off to just kind of have a sabbatical and look after myself, go back to Australia, look after mum, just kind of do some like things and just kind of put myself in perspective, because it really was a midlife crisis at that point. And then I just realized I didn't need to be earning this much money. I didn't need to be this corporate hound. I didn't need to be responsible for a business corporate life. I just needed to be my own and earn as much as I needed to at the time. So I went contracting. I started doing my own businesses. I started doing other opportunities. At the same time, it was about just making myself feel with more self-worth than it just being a task and being paid for that task. So it was a big eye-opener. Negative in the sense of, oh my gosh, you know, I'm no longer good enough. I'm no longer part of this corporate ladder. I'm no longer perhaps not part of society, but then realizing, no, that's not it at all. It's really about you and what you can do and what you can contribute, and not about how much you earn and how you're spending what you're earning.
Do you feel like you are living your best life right now?
No, there's aspects I need to change, but I'm doing it. I'm doing the best I can to do that. I'm studying again because I just realized now I need to pivot. I've certainly pivoted away from the marketing side. I've gone into other aspects of my professional career with project management, but like I said, I did other startups. I was always quite tech savvy, but I think you need to keep on top of tech, so it's continually learning. But I've gone back to university to start learning design and innovation, so I can, because I've always been a creative and a solutions developer. So that's what I'm doing.
2 questions left. Let's do it. Can dance with me.
I think you do it better, more Brazilian, more fluid.
Oh dear. Next question is, what's your morning ritual?
I've never been a morning person, so it's getting up at the time I absolutely need to get up in order to go to work, and so I
like your morning, your morning. Your morning.
I mean, I don't get. I have friends that will get up at 5. They'll go and work out. They'll watch a program. They'll read a newspaper, and then have breakfast. I'm up, I'll have coffee, I dress, and I go. But that's if I'm working from the office. If I'm at home, I'm literally up at 15 minutes to 9, get that coffee, sit down, and start working. Because I'm just not a morning person. I'm more of an evening person. I do a lot more in the evening. So to your point, the regime is up, coffee, work.
Amazing. Simple as that.
Yes.
Which person in your life right now you feel more close to, you more connected with?
I've definitely said it's a couple of people, and like I said, it's those very, very good friends of mine. One in Australia, a couple here in London, another guy in America. I equally share that kind of onus on them to be very important to me. It's not just one person, so it's definitely those particular friends, and they have different aspects of what they bring to the table, and at the same time, I'm there for them when they need it.
Okay. All these friends, they are watching this interview right now, right this moment. You know who they are, and they know as well who they are. You can send a message, you can say anything to them right now. What would you say? They're watching.
Call me. Call me more. I know I should call them too. They're probably saying, well, you should call me. Yeah, I'm much better at speaking. I've never liked texting, and I just think it's such a thing that we all do now, is just text. And I know you don't read emotion in text, well, but I do, and you shouldn't. So I prefer talking. I'm very much a talker, as you can probably tell. So yeah, I would say to them, call me more.
Sweet. Last question, ready? Let's do it. Last one.
I think it's more that your big smile, William.
Before the last question, Donny, people watching this interview right now, maybe they are struggle, with some, issues regarding chemsex, or maybe they don't have much information, they are a bit lost, or maybe they don't have understanding about it. Yeah. What would be your best piece of advice for those people?
Are you talking about specifically to the chemsex stuff, or just
yes,
in life? Okay, chemsex stuff. Find out. I mean, I literally say to people all the time that I come across when they say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I don't know how to get help, find out help. I mean, there's lots of associations and services, especially within the UK from a local council perspective, but try and do it with people that are like-minded. Okay. So if you're gay, then do it with a gay service, But at the same time, that's no detriment to a heterosexual service or anything like that. I'm just saying whatever you're going to be comfortable with, because you're going to bring more to the table and you're going to be more honest. And it's about being honest with the person you're talking to, because then you can be honest with yourself and you'll be able to get the help that you need. Because far many times people are not explaining the right situation or the right problem, and so therefore they're not getting the assistance they need. And assistance is information, sure. And one other anecdote is, you can go on Google, but it's like Google being a doctor, right? It's never going to know the exact thing. So again, talk to people that have had the experience, talk to people like myself, talk to the people that I represent with Controlling Chemsex or Antidote and the other services. But wherever you are in the world, find a local kind of source of that information and talk to someone. More often than not, you're really kind of inhibiting yourself if you don't reach out. Just reach out and people will be able to help.
Absolutely. I love that, Donny. And I think as well, as you said, of course, you can find information online and you can educate yourself. However, when you talk to someone, when you express yourself, when you see the other person talking to you as well, it's a different approach. I think you feel more grounded, you feel more safe in a way as well, because somehow other people, they can share their experiences. Also, they can, direct you to another place, or maybe you can get a different help or different supports or different connection or different approach as well. I think I understand your point. And I think nowadays people, they are more understanding about it. And the more you talk, the most you, be open about it, to understand. I think you can help people as well. That's how I see it. Amazing.
Absolutely.
Last question. Do you have a unique ability that you think no one has or you never met before?
Well, my creativity. Well, hands down, I've always been a creative. Again, those 14 years in marketing, I was always coming up with new ideas, and everyone was like, "How do you do that?" And I was just like, "Well, it's just a natural talent, which I should promote more. I should market more. I just have this unique ability to think about something and think, oh, okay, here's a particular creative solution to that." So I think that's always been an ability. So me going back to study now, I really want to enhance that and bring that out more, because I want to know about more theories to kind of pull it all out. But I'm definitely an ideas person, and that's what I bring to the table.
Beautiful. Right, so then let's play now the word association game. Okay, I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Okay.
Let's start with money.
Experiences.
Family.
My mum.
Sweet. Fear.
Not having any friends.
Life.
Is about living.
Love.
I need some.
Sweet. Religion.
Whatever works for you.
Okay. Sex.
I think with love, I need some.
Somehow I knew you'd say that. Who's gonna write first, sex or love?
Love.
Okay, good one. Friendship.
Everything.
Politics.
Pick and choose it, as you would with religion.
Okay. Desire.
Continue, like keep it going, keep your desire going, because without desire you just don't have motivation. So keep the desire going.
Regret.
Learn from them. Don't just have them, learn from them.
One word for success.
Again, I just think it's achievement, being able to share that success.
Wish.
Full enough for love, I guess, for more friendship, for more experiences.
Okay. One word for happiness.
Being able to laugh and continually laugh with friends. Just being in environments where you can laugh.
One word for Australia. One word.
Hot.
One word for London.
Wet.
When you were living in the US, you live in New York City.
Yes.
Yeah. One word for New York City then.
Oh, dirty. Very dirty. Because it needed to be cleaned up.
It's funny. I had a lovely man here on the show. He's from New York City, but he lives in Florida. And I said to him, New York. And I said to him, onward for New York City. And he said, filthy.
Filthy. Yeah, filthy's got a better connotation than dirty, because dirty means abuse.
And the last one now, let's say chemsex, one word.
Well, I mean, it's hard to put it into one word, but I just think it gets better. I mean, it's hard to say one word, but I just want to say it gets better.
Okay. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your mom for a coffee, and I'm going to ask her, define Donny in one positive word and one negative word only. What should say?
Well, the positive would be independent, and the negative is communication.
What's your star sign astrology, Donny?
Taurus.
Oh, now I understand about the love. I understand. One of my best friend, he's Taurus, and I have a few friends actually Taurus, and they always thinking too. They always, they're always searching for someone. There's always they have this thing about being together. Makes all sense.
Yeah.
But in love, I fell in love for 3 Taurus in my life. My first love was a girl back in my teenage when I was 12, and she was Taurus. And I had 2 more people, like friends now, they're good friends that I fell in love. So my connection with Taurus is always like that. I fell in love and after we became friends. That's a doing for me.
That's good.
Let's play now Donny and the magic box, and you can ask me a question. Before we ask me the question, through those 30 years, what London has taught you so far?
That anything is possible. It's like, it's just about, don't ever deny yourself. Don't ever think it's impossible. If it's impossible, it just means it's harder work. And if you're prepared to do it, then you'll achieve it. London has everything, and it's yours when you work for it. You find it, you look for it. You know, it's there. Yeah. That's what I learned from London.
Beautiful. Okay, Donny, you can ask me a question now.
Sure. I mean, I'm kind of keen to understand what made you, or at least motivates you to do this.
Beautiful. You know what? You're talking about London now, and I start getting goosebumps because I believe that I've been here for almost 20 years now in London, and I believe that even though London makes you go after your dreams, London somehow push you to go after whatever is hidden here somewhere. During the COVID, when the world went upside down, I was already thinking about doing a YouTube channel, create something that I could express myself, I could connect with people, but I didn't know what I could do. I want to do something that I could literally be my truly self. Remember, during the COVID, we could leave the house once a day for exercise, so I was going for a run in the afternoon every day. And one of those runs, this idea came along, and I was like, oh my God. I remember the moment, I remember the place, and I remember I was running, and suddenly I was like, oh my God, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to create some questions, I'm going to research some questions, and I'm going to literally invite random people around the globe to see their point of views, their way of express themselves. And it's been an amazing journey. I think that's how everything started. And I 100% believe that this show meant to be for me, because I could do that for 24 hours, Donny, like no stop, because I feel so great when I'm here connecting. I feel the best. I feel the best of myself. So I literally came out of literally a run in the park. And but besides that, growing up as a teenager, when I look back, even before I started doing the show, there was always, when I was going on holidays with friends, or when I was traveling, or even at school, I remember I was always like, oh, who was your favorite teacher? Oh, tell me something interesting about, the place where you were born. So I was doing that. When I look back, I was already doing that. I was already here. You know what I mean? So somehow this thing just came up like that during the COVID, and here I am. So I think that's how the show started. Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant.
Amazing.
That's really good. And look, it's obviously your talent as well. And so that's really good. And keep doing it, because I think it's great.
Did you enjoy the interview?
Very much. It's always good. It's always good to have a personal reflection, because you don't do it enough as a person. It's something that I talk to with my clients. It's about just taking a step back and just doing a little bit of an audit on yourself, and just being honest with yourself. And I certainly feel, I mean, I was honest now, so I feel like it's just an opportunity to just reflect on that. I'll look back at this interview and just kind of, get over the aesthetic and everything, and my nuances of the way that I've acted. But it'll be interesting to see what I've said, and kind of like be true to it.
Totally. You've just made memories right now, for sure.
Exactly.
Donny, once again, thanks again for for the interview. I think it's amazing. I again, back to your time when you are helping people through your job, educating people, helping people, somehow open people's mind, the understanding as well. I think sometimes, most of the time, when we take our time to do something for others, in the end of the day we are doing for ourselves. So I think it's a great way. So thanks again. I think people for sure they'll appreciate as well. I think people who we work with, people who somehow comes after your your understanding, your information, and based on your experience, and also on your studies and everything. I think people appreciate. So yeah, carry on as well. And I just hope that through this interview people they get more understanding, and if they need any help or anything, I'm sure there is they know now who to go to have a talk.
Brilliant.
But before you go, if you can share a positive message or anything that you live by.
I tell everyone, it's like when you ask the question, what should I ask my friends? People out there listening, just call your friends more, right? We're getting to an age where we're becoming so insular with social media and doing everything on our phones and becoming less and less communicative. Just call your friends, pick up the phone and call. I think it's wonderful to do, especially when it's out of the blue and it doesn't have an objective like asking for something, whatever. Just call up and say, how you going?
Easy. Perfect. Yes, we see you, London, sometimes. Thanks so much for the interview, and you keep in touch. Okay, it was a pleasure.
All right, it's good to see you again.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, to share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why you'd like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye bye, see you next time.